Wilson Morales from Black from TV. Hey, folks, how's it going?
Good.
Hi, how are you
doing?
Every time I watch each season, I'm like, okay, at what point does the insecurity go away? But it doesn't, because one, they do terrible things because they feel insecure. Does it change in this season, Anthony?
No. In a nutshell, the insecurity of the character is what makes them compelling. I've always looked at Homelander as the weakest character on the show, the strongest man and the weakest character on the show, and that runs through season 4. Man, he is fatally flawed by his need to connect and loneliness and all the vulnerabilities that we've seen up to season 4, and it's an extension of that in season 4.
Chace, you look at your character deep and you see what he goes through. And, Anthony's talking about Homelander as the weakest character. No, sometimes we wonder, could it be you? Can you take that title, or are we going to see more?
Probably. Probably, yeah. I mean, he's definitely weak-minded and sort of weak. He's very insecure, right? He's definitely not choosing any type of growth. I think when he did in season 2, it was sort of a dog and pony show where he's like trying to, he was kind of punished, and so he was feeling down, and so he kind of was trying to jump through the hoops and show I'm doing good to get back in the 7th. So I think there was an element of that. And then when he actually is back, it's like, fuck it, I'm back. I'm gonna be sort of who I am, which is an idea of something. It's like he plays this idea of a person basically, which is really funny. It's funny to watch, and as so many people do, really, play a sort of a personality. But yeah, he's definitely not choosing growth. It's kind of safe. He always wants to stay safe and sort of stay in that bubble of the world that he's in. But he is sort of expanding a little bit. His some of the repressed anger might be coming out this year a little bit. Yeah.
As each season goes, Anthony, do you get a thrill as Homelander does? Watch each kill that he does. There's more blood, there's more gore, and it doesn't seem to phase him. For you as an actor, you're like, all right, we got to bring it down a bit. Or you're like, hey, it is what the script calls for.
It's not my job. I'm not a writer. It's not my job. I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut, brother. So, I look at what they write, and then within that, if I have ideas, I add them to the pot. And I think in season 4, there's an episode that takes a lot of blood, a lot of gore, a lot of violence mixed with a lot of internal dilemma and reflection on that violence. And I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a very interesting episode. So everything that you just mentioned is in that episode, which I can't wait for people to see.
And Chace, to wrap this up, as we get new seasons, there's a new audience that comes in. Obviously they all have to play catch up to see where we are at this point. But what you say is the growing interest of people coming back and new people coming in to the series.
Well, I would say I feel like every year it keeps getting growing in the audience, right? You can almost pop in any season, almost any episode, and sort of understand what's going on. It's very, very character driven. Every year it keeps getting, there's always something. It's just very unpredictable, right? I mean, that's what I like in TV shows. It's not formulaic. And so the performances, are so strong, I think. I mean, you watch Homelander, all these amazing actors. It's you really pop into season 4, check it out, any episode, and be like, okay, wait, I got to go back and check some of these early episodes out. So yeah, it just keeps growing, man. So it's really impressive, and hats off to the writers and everyone behind it.
Hey, congrats on coming back. Let's hope we get a season 5. Let's make it so. I'll talk to you guys down the road.
We have a season 5.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Good to see you.
Cheers. Wilson Morales from Black from TV. Hello, folks. How's it going?
Hi, good.
The three of you, this particular season, I think Claudia is the one that seems to be more bolder. Without a
Bolder and better. Is bold the word?
Bolder.
Insane, unhinged.
But you're bold. You are pretty bold. Like we're very
pretty.
we're insecure. You're bold.
She's a pretty bold character.
Yeah, you're bold. I
She's
feel
bolder.
like, not to speak on your behalf because you're so bold too, but we're a bit like like we go in.
We go
inward. You are very bold.
Very
You're
bold.
so bold.
You're so
And I
bold.
say that because both of your other characters, Karen and Erin's, you're dealing with the past. It doesn't go away. It's coming back to haunt you one way or the other. Where Claudia's moving forward in her quest for, I guess, if you want to say, more power. Am I saying it right or not?
Power. Yeah.
Power. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're right. And I also think that it's like, it's such a struggle because you have to like get through these things that have left residue in your psychology and even in your body when you've been through some of the stuff that Annie has been through, like sexual abuse. And you feel like, I don't know, at least in terms of Annie, I thought of it from the perspective of, fuck, I'm letting these guys win by letting them impact me. And I have to keep going because if I let them win and I let the trauma catch up to me, then I'm being self-defeatist. And it's like, no, you are going through something as a result of their actions and you're allowed to go through it. So I think there's a lack of permission that is inherent in my character and maybe all of our characters that like disables us from moving forward. It's like you're not allowed to give in to the people that have abused you because you're letting them win.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're
Karen
going
seems
such a public
Ugh, yeah.
arena. Sorry.
Karen seems to be the human shield all the time. She's like Reggie on the other side, At what
Oh,
point
I
does it
know.
stop?
I know. I keep telling Frenchie to step it up, but
You're just so strong.
I'm just so
I'm just so strong.
so strong.
I take care of my guy.
It's always a joke between Tomer and I because he's always, I'm doing like all the fight sequences and he's always like, oh, give me go.
Oh my God. This season is brilliant too with that specific moment where he's just utterly useless and you're just the most useful,
I love
strongest
I love
person.
it.
So good.
I love it though, honestly.
The contrast.
Yeah.
That was a good Frenchie. That was a good.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
Girl
fantastic.
day.
And with you, Claudia, are you going to be using your daughter more often as a weapon?
Oh,
Fired. Shots
I mean, like
fired.
I think we've seen in episode 1, she can handle herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who? Your daughter?
My daughter.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
She's a
I think
menace.
she's
She is
she's
wow.
her mother's
She's,
daughter. I feel horrible what I've done to her.
No, I mean,
You love it.
listen. You're Stan Edgar's daughter. You should again
You're like-
give
you're like in
yourself
the background,
permission.
you're like,
I'm just passing down the
man and
generational
be-
trauma. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
I'm making great choices.
I mean,
No, I think in the season we reach a point where she's on a journey to power, but she sees the consequence of it and she sees kind of like everything closing in on her, closing. What am I doing? Can't speak. Closing in on her and it kind of forces this clarity to make its way through. And I really think that at the end of the day, she makes the decisions based on her daughter.
pressure makes diamonds.
It does. Pressure makes diamonds.
But here you go. Season 4, a lot more characters, a lot more blood. That's all people want to see when they watch the show. So come back again. Don't die. Take care, folks.
Thank you.
Wilson Morales from Black Women TV. Hello, folks. How's it going?
Great. Good to see you, Wilson.
Hey. So, Colby, obviously you're the vet in this group right here. What did you do to make these two comfortable being on the set?
Oh boy, I just gave them the good natural boys hazing that we do for anybody new that comes in. No, I mean, I was so grateful to have these two women join the show. They're New Yorkers. I love my New York people. They're such excellent actors. And I was just, I hope I made them comfortable. I don't know. But we had just a great, great time. We need more women. Sure, but like, it's the boys. It's nice to have more estrogen. We have these things we call estrogen nights, and we soak up some lady time, and it's always a great night.
Susan, I've known you for a while, but coming onto this show, you're seen as the badass, the all-knowing, So is there anything you wanted to do that's outside of the script to make it your own?
Oh, yeah. Every day we come to set and we're experimenting with trying to find something that's not on the page. I'm a particularly gregarious person, especially when I'm comfortable. So finding Sage's discomfort in her body because she's all in her brain was a really fun experiment. It was fun to work with how still she is and how she expresses her discomfort. So every day was an experiment to see what we could find.
And as you, Valorie, your character seems to be part of the Seven. Happy to be there. Happy to wreak havoc. How much more can you say?
I mean, she's not wreaking havoc. She's building bridges. Just building a better world. Yeah, no, she's thrilled. Very unexpected. She is an unlikely member of the Seven. She's a person who has always survived on the margins, always been an outsider, and her base are people that also consider themselves outsiders, and she can kind of rally them that way. So to find herself thrust to the center of power is a surprise and a learning curve.
Not to say give anything away, but Colby, how do you feel about these two joining the group? What does that do to your sense of power within the realm of things?
Well, it definitely threatens Ashley's power for sure. To suddenly have Sage in the room talking to Homelander in a way that I have never been able to talk to him, and her not immediately dying is immediately threatening. It's not Ashley does not love the presence of these two newcomers at all. But I personally, Colby, was very happy.
And unlike Colby, both of you get to wear costumes. What was that like in the fitting session? Susan?
Listening to the thought process of the costume crew as they build the costume was so incredibly helpful for me as building the character, and also just really, really fun. A childhood dream come true, really, after not seeing the same amount of female representation amongst the superpowers as now currently.
How about you, Valorie? How comfortable are you when you're wearing that costume at some point? Is it everybody has to go through the makeup department, like, oh, it's too tight, make it loose. How was it for you?
There's a lot of people, a lot of architecture that goes into building Firecracker every day and then taking her apart. She is, less me than, I don't know, what is that thing? It's like she's more fake than she is real, me. Anyway, you know what I mean. But the building of the suit, like the designing of the suit, I think we were both told like how much that process is also a part of like creating the character. And that's so true. And how with Firecracker, I think they had a ball because rather than doing a really kind of like modern nuanced take on a female superhero, moving away from like the super objectifying, super sexualized personification, we really leaned into that because that's who she is and that's something she would weaponize. So it's hyper feminine, hyper objectifying, really hard to wear and walk in and exist in, but it looks good standing up and still.
So before I let you go, welcome to the show. Colby, make sure you stick around because, you never know what's going to happen with your characters if you don't have no powers. But we'll see. Take care, folks.
Thanks.
Wilson Morales from Black Film TV. Hey, Eric, how's it going?
It's going good, man. How are you?
Good. There's a lot packed in for season 4, and it has to do with you. I said, I want to be friends with Eric. Last year he brought in Jensen. This year he's got Jeffrey, fan favorites from other shows back in here. Was it always a good thought to say, okay, I'm going to bring on Jeffrey? Because he brings something to the table when it comes to any series.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, Jeffrey has been amazing. He's been such a fan of the show from the beginning. And we've always talked about, if our schedules ever align, like I'm putting you on the show, man. And so this season he said, I think my schedule might be open. And so I went to the writer's room and I said, let's keep in mind that we have Jeffrey if we can find the right part for him. And, this notion of the role he's playing came from, we said, well, every character in Butcher's life has really been pushing him back. But what if there's a character that really shoves him forward and is really just like Butcher? And so, but then we were immediately like, well, that's not easy to cast. You need someone as charismatic and strong as Carl. And then immediately I was like, well, that's the role for Jeffrey. So I called him and he was into it. And it's so great because, those two are such equals. They're two heavyweights and their energy is so interesting with each other because you needed someone like that. You needed someone who could match Carl's strength. And, and I think Jeff does an amazing job at that.
Is it challenging to not only focusing on the characters you've already had from day one, but to add in new characters like Jeffrey and two season regulars, like Valorie and Susan,
Yeah.
and then giving them more to do because they are regulars, not recurring.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not necessarily hard to bring them in a way. They're easier to write for because you haven't burned through three seasons of story with them. You could really start fresh. The things that are hard, maybe the hardest thing about the show is juggling so many main characters, and figuring out how to keep the balance, but still make sure that everyone's story is being serviced and that they're all being given awesome moments and character growth. And that's hard with 2 leads, much less 12. And it's really hard, coming up with new stories for the characters that have been around since the beginning. That's harder because you've already told all the stories that first occurred to you. And so now you have to dig deeper and deeper into their psyche and their psychology to just reveal new facets about them. I always say every season, you don't want to go bigger, you want to go deeper. And that means you got to dig deeper into these characters every year.
Is there a core theme to this season? Because you're dealing with so many characters, and question is, who changes, who doesn't, who stays the same? How gory can we get with this season?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think if there's a theme this season, it's about forgiveness, and we live in very polarized times, and we're getting split into this us versus them thing. But we're all being manipulated into that position to hate each other because by algorithms and social media and billionaires, because it serves them financially to have us be angry. And if we just sort of had a little bit of mercy and forgiveness for our neighbors and saw the humanity in them, even if you don't agree with where they're coming from, the world would be a much better place. And so, so I think that's really the theme of it this season. And it always serves into the bigger theme, which is being human is not being a strong man or not saying you're going to swoop in and save the world and give simple answers to complicated questions. Being a human is doing the work of a million boring things every day that don't look good on social media, but just little tender moments of humanity. And if everyone's doing enough of those, the world could really be saved.
Congrats on the season 4. Let's keep it going. Looking forward to what's next.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.